This episode has nothing to do with that song whatsoever. It's actually just what I thought of when I started the camera. This is Jess, and welcome to Jeskid TV. I'm sorry to have missed an episode last, Friday? But I was away, and where was I? I was at PAX East, which is a Penny Arcade Expo. And I actually went to meet up with a lot of you guys, have some drinks, and just a lot of laughs, and it was a fucking blast.
Guess what? It's gonna be me!
It's gonna be me! But I'll cover that on the next episode of Jeskid TV. This episode is about Rooster Teeth Productions. See the hat, Rooster Teeth?
And now, your starting lineup for the Rooster Teeth panel!
And the reason I went to see Rooster Teeth is, as many people know, I've been part of their community for years and years, the Red versus Blue community, as many know it, and they make machinima, which is video game powered shows for the web, and now they've branched out into all kinds of other shows, and I really think that they're an interesting company, and I think that they've got a pulse on what's going on online, and potentially online leading to mainstream media, because it's all sort of tying together. So that said, I got to see their new show, Immersion, which is a pilot for sort of Mythbusters for video games, and it was hilarious. And then I also got to see Red vs. Blue, which in its 8th season has now blossomed into something that's using 3D animation mixed in with video games. So it's really interesting to see how this company is expanding by hiring new talent and working with new people, especially this awesome guy Monty, who they brought on to do this, and they've just created something really interesting. So I'm going to show you a little of the panel with Burnie and Jeff and Gus, 3 of the founders and creators of Red vs. Blue, and who work at Rooster Teeth Productions, and Monty, the guy they brought on to help with the animation. And then I'm going to show you an interview with Burnie Burns and Monty, because it's really interesting what this guy has to say and where he thinks it's all going. That said, as always, welcome to Jeskid TV.
You know him as the voice of Simmons, Gangly Gustavo Cirola! You know him as the voice of Griff, Jeffrey the Alabama Man Ramsey! You know him as the writer of Red vs. Blue, the voice of Church, and a handsome man. Big Bad Burnie Burns!
So if you've never been to a Rooster Teeth panel at PAX before, if you have been before, welcome back. And if you've never been here before, what we like to do is we like to show things at PAX as part of our panel that are conceptual things, ideas maybe we have for new shows, maybe different things with Red vs. Blue, things that you're not going to see probably anywhere else. So I think a little explanation is in order. A couple of years ago, we saw a short film called Haloid by a gentleman by the name of Monty Oum. And we were extremely impressed by what we saw. And we had talked to Monty. This is, if you haven't seen it before, it's a piece where Master Chief fights Metroid. And I am very proud to announce today the newest member of the Rooster Teeth staff, Mr. Monty Oum. Monty is an extremely talented animator. You know, like I said, when we saw Haloid, and he has another series called Dead Fantasy. So we were extremely excited for him to come and join us at our offices. Yeah, and so we thought, you know, this is our 8th season of Red vs. Blue, and, you know, like we said, we like to show conceptual stuff here at PAX, and so we wanted to do something that kind of punched up a little bit. And Monty definitely helped punch it up quite a bit, I would say. 1, 2, 3. No!
Is that good enough, sir?
Hey, thank you all for coming out. Thank you. 7 years of support.
I'm here with Burnie Burns, and this is Jeskid. This is Jeskid TV. Oh, look at that. He's taking the camera. Hey, how you doing?
I'm Burnie Burns.
Oh, hey. Yeah, apparently Burnie's learned the technique that I've sort of, coined, which is basically turning the camera and acting like a jackass. It's not really that tough.
So I think you have a better low angle than I do, though.
Yeah, well, no, my low angle just shows off my receding hairline and my nose hair. Yours is much better. You're you look epically tall. I look just kind of awful.
We're both unshaven.
Yeah,
well, you get one of those animated gifs like you have with the rotating.
Yeah, well, you just go like this and you just spin, and then you put it on the web, and people go, whoa. So we are here with Burnie Burns, and he just premiered Immersion, their new series, and the new season of Red vs. Blue.
Right, I would say Immersion was more like a pilot. Like, there was one idea that we had that we would definitely wanted to try and see how the audience reacted to it. But the audience reacted very well, I would say. They seemed to like it. I was actually worried they wouldn't get it. The car, and that they were driving the car from the monitor, but it seemed to come across.
Well,
so.
Immediately I looked at it and I saw it's basically Mythbusters in a way, but with sort of video game world and with a farcical take, and I thought it was hilarious, by the way.
Yeah, it's like a parody, like a Mythbusters clone kind of a thing. Just a fun way to do experiments, and that's kind of the TV version of experimenting now, isn't it? Mythbusters.
And what kind of video games, if you are to go this direction, do you think you'll cover?
Well, I think anything that's popular, or anything that's like got a unique view where. Just like in the Immersion one we showed with the car, it's a third-person view behind the car. Something that we take for granted that we don't realize we do in video games, and then how can we apply that to real life? So I'm working on a way right now to where you can wear goggles but only see yourself from the side like a 2D scroller while we throw barrels at Gus and Jeff and have them jump them. I'm only worried they'd fall on the glasses and drive an LCD into their eyeballs, though.
The reaction was pretty terrific, I felt, from the audience. Everybody cheered and laughed at all the right points. And how did you guys feel in sharing this for the first time?
No, it was cool. It was very cool. Like, it was cool to see something that was new that people got right away, right? As opposed to like trying to figure it out. And people really liked it, so I can definitely tell you we'll make more of it.
You also premiered the new season of Red vs. Blue, which had animation in it by Monty over there, who did what is it, Haloid?
He did Haloid.
And
Dead Fantasy series, yeah.
Right. So you're basically introducing. You're being able to take this medium that you've used for 7 years, 6 years.
Yeah. Well, that's a big thing. We like doing team-up stuff, right? And we found Monty on the internet. Here's something he's doing that's really cool that we can't do. And we do stuff like writing characters and storylines and stuff that he doesn't really... I don't know if he's just not interested in it, but he doesn't do it. He likes all the animation. So he's going to come together and make something cool.
Do you feel like at some point you may take that animation and apply it to some different games, or even take the new storylines, create new characters for different entry points for new viewers?
Well, we've talked about a lot of stuff. Like, Monty and I are working on right now a whole series that's just not machinima at all. It's just animation stuff.
Right.
And we were throwing around ideas for that. And we've also been talking about, doing live action shooting like we've been doing with the shorts.
Integrated with CG.
Right.
Which, something like, what if we made our own Star Trek? Right?
So that kind of a thing.
Something like that. It'd be cool.
Something like that. But, it's hard. It's like that's something that we haven't really done before, and it's something that Monty hasn't done before, but there's no reason not to give it a shot and see what people think of it.
Exactly.
What's most interesting about you guys for me has always been that you've created this like independent studio, and it's great to get money from the outside, but whether you do or you don't, you seem to be able to just grow this product out and try new things. And I want to see where you guys think you may go with this overall. I mean, you have a new location. Can you talk about your new office for a second?
Yeah. Well, what you're talking about is like the business side of it, and that's been 7 years in the making because we're just about to hit our 7th anniversary. And it's been like, if you look at the term in our company in terms of a business, it's a lot slower growth than what you'd expect, but that's good because we're doing it all on our own. And we're just about to move into, like you said, into a new building that we bought, and we're turning it into half warehouse with 24-foot ceilings so that we can do live action sets, and then the other half is just computers and
my new mocap room.
Yes, but yeah, Monty's mocap room. That was the jungle gym thing I was talking about.
Right now, our mocap room is also our conference room.
It is.
It is.
We literally pick up the conference table and move it out, and then it's mocap. And then when somebody comes over to visit us, we move all the chairs back in and set up the conference table again.
Right.
So I've been around, I guess, 5-6 years now, something in that range. Yeah. And I've seen the web change dramatically since you guys started, and you seem to be changing with it, integrating into Facebook, YouTube. Where do you personally see it going as far as your ability to move forward?
We're very afraid.
Right.
Afraid too, so I'm with you.
I'll be honest, we got dragged kind of kicking and screaming and all that stuff. Like I don't even have personally a Facebook account. And I do some Twitter stuff, but we come from the era where the internet wasn't just 5 sites. Like, you didn't go to Google, then go to YouTube, then go to Wikipedia. you know, then go to Dig or whatever. I mean, everyone had their own website, you know? I mean, even stuff like Wikipedia, you could go to some guy's page and he just, all this guy cared about in the world was the Battle of Hastings. And you trusted that the guy was an authority, because who the hell else would make a web page about the Battle of Hastings, right? And that was cool, because then everyone could have their own identity. And now it's like, I feel like for people getting started, they feel like they can't get known without going to YouTube. You know what I mean?
I'm a very bad example of that, where I just happen to be a YouTube user who just makes really kick-ass stuff. But otherwise, right.
Like, you have your own website even.
Barely.
Barely, yeah.
Right.
When did you launch Monty Halo, the first with the versus
2007? Was it?
2007.
Right, and I did it by being the best GT user movie maker, not by being a movie maker, right? You found it because GT promoted it.
Yeah.
And that's how I got known.
GT being? GT.
Game Trailers. GameTrailers.com, not my site.
So that was your initial sort of big spike that enabled you to get the traffic for your short?
Exactly, that's right. I've been doing that since. And I still have yet to update my own site. I update my DeviantArt, my YouTube, my GT way more than I even update my own blog.
So if you don't mind me asking, so without working for a company like Rooster Teeth or demonstrating your talent for another company, as a user of, say, a YouTube or another site that controls the traffic and controls the monetization, how do you monetize that without just using it as a showpiece for exposure?
I always assume that it's always, I always assumed before it was a part-time thing, that it would never make me money, but it would take me places. Right.
So you use it more as a platform to launch.
Exactly. The game companies that have hired me have seen the videos and assumed and said to themselves, that's great, let's put that in our game.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is totally different than being a destination to monetize content in a business that sort of does that.
Yeah, it's just two different philosophies, right? There's two ways you can do it. It seems the way the internet is moving as a whole is towards that model, where you do stuff as a showcase, hoping that then professional money shows up and you get hired. Like, we've been trying to work with Monty for 3 years now, but he's worked at 2 different game companies during that time. Right. And things just kind of finally came together.
That's right.
Where it was
Which games companies do you work for, by the way?
Midway Games, and then I worked at Namco Bandai up in Northern California.
Can you compare the experiences of working at those 2 games to working with Burnie? And this isn't a rigged answer because you have to be nice.
I'd say Rooster Teeth is probably the coolest job I've ever had, and those 2 companies were pretty damn cool, because I could be at the studio at 3 a.m. at night, no questions asked, blasting music, working on whatever it be, let alone my stuff or Rooster Teeth stuff. It's all relevant, and there's no questions about commitment, because I don't believe in waste, and it all applies, and they trust me for that.
Well, I feel watching this thing today, and all part of Heart's Honest, I was like, these guys are really on the move. And I know you have been for years, but today especially, I was like, fuck man, this stuff is really good. And I was very excited to see where you guys go with it. This guy doesn't want me to talk, but I'm going to fucking talk anyway. Okay, I'm sorry. It's your interview. Wait, let's get back.
I want to go back to what we were talking about earlier, though, about like the different sites and everything, and having your own site. Because you know, right, you've gone through the film thing with festivals, and theaters they're a very limited commodity. And to take a film and put it into theaters, we were never able to do that. We couldn't get that done. We had the struggle of going to festivals and everything else.
I've also had to struggle as a destination, where I've had to go as well to YouTube, to Facebook. Right. I can't escape it either. I sort of have to go everywhere.
Right. And see, that's a window in time, right? The difference between when people get started on this stuff. And I don't know how you can change the internet. I don't know how you can do that. But the cool thing about the internet is that you can put something up and everybody else in the world can see it. Everybody. That's how it's different than normal distribution methods, like old media stuff. So to take things that don't work in the old world, or that are impossibly difficult, and to layer them in over what makes the internet great, that is so frustrating to me. And to hear people feel like they gotta go to YouTube, as much as I like YouTube and being a partner of YouTube, it's not the way the internet should work, you know? There just should be lots of cool stuff out there from different websites, and we all find out about it from each other. That's the way you hope the world works, you know, the internet works, but it's changing. Do I sound old?
No, not at all. In fact, I think what his approach is really interesting, because, I mean, it is a sort, I think if you stick at it, and this has been my thing, if you stick at it and you keep making good shit, and over, someone will notice, or some cooperative that will allow you to have that respect that's beyond the audience participation, and those teams will group together and make something really fucking cool, and that itself will grow.
Yeah, and I think people will, that watch Dead Fantasy and Monty stuff, now they'll learn about Red vs. Blue. People who watch Red vs. Blue that weren't aware of Dead Fantasy will now go and watch that stuff now, too.
This joint venture works very well in its themes as well. Their influence on me has been very great, and I've always had the greatest respect for Red vs. Blue, how they did the most with what they had. That's actually a lot in my methods. If I could go into it forever about the limitations of my work and expanding within that. I believe a lot in you are defined by your limitations. Machinima is itself in a limitation and filmmaking in limits. And they've done a great job for 7 years. So this next step is a really good thing.
You know, and that was the thing too, is that the limitations of machinima are kind of part of the fun of it. And so once we started kind of messing around with this conceptual stuff, suddenly the sky's the limit, but we had to make sure we had to make a new sky, lower it.
We had
so
to,
it makes sense.
We had to use self-imposed limitations, which is actually one of the things I do very well for myself. And then between us working together, we also impose our own limitations because we could go crazy, but then we could never get done.
But it wouldn't seem honest to Red versus Blue either, right? It had to be for what we do. It couldn't be like all of a sudden the guys are awesome kung fu fighters.
Right,
you know?
exactly.
That wouldn't make sense.
I am very big on character-driven animation, and I spent much time asking each one of the guys, what would your guy do in this situation? How would they act? Very driven about what their character would play as. You notice that they're not doing my style of fighting; they're doing my representation of what interpretation of what they would do in this situation.
Yeah. Right. Well, I think it's wonderful, and I think Immersion, which we didn't get to talk about a lot, is really a cool concept, and we'll grow it out. And I'm really excited to see what you do with this new space. And yeah, man, thanks for the time and for coming out and being so fucking cool as always. So take care of yourself. See, I told you the guy was fucking fascinating, and yeah, I told you. No, actually, see. I tell you, these are some interesting dudes, and they have a lot to say. Obviously, so do I, because I can't shut the fuck up. But that's me, you know. Big Mouth Jeskid. Big Mouth Jeskid. It sounds like it should be my new username. It should be Big Mouth Jeskid TV. It really, it's good. It's innovative. I am the web. Not really. I just sit in my apartment and watch porn. But besides that, there are people to thank for this episode. First, Burnie Burns and Monty for the kind interview. All the people that hung out with me at the convention. You'll see some of that next time as you watch me sing karaoke and be a fucking jackass, because I'm good at that, apparently. And, oh yeah, and the people who sponsored this episode. First, thank you to James. James, is awesome for you to help out and be awesome. Then my homeboy, Jafar! That would be Jose Full of Win. And lastly, but not leastly, but not lastly, Rudy number 11. Thank you, doll, for the coffee contribution, because I need it to stay awake in these times. I'm charging forward like a fucking madman, taking on the world, and your coffee donation, whatever you can donate, is awesome. So if you want to do that, go to Jeskid's World, hit donate, and money will come my way, and then I will spend it on coffee or whatever it is I can afford at the time, and I will be hopefully energized enough to do the next crazy smashing thing, like showing you my retainer at night in the next episode of Jeskid TV. So thank you guys, and thank you to the Rooster Teeth guys again for being fucking awesome. So that's it. That's what I do, and this has been another episode of Jeskid TV.